Welcome to Leadership Labs. I'm Louise and Maurice, leadership mentor and founder of the Academy for Holistic Leadership. We are continuing with my Get Results Confidence Coaching Framework. When you hear me say client, I want you to imagine the person or group of people you lead and apply the training to your real-world leadership situations. Let's continue. Lab 2 gives you the structured preparation, processes, and insight leaders rely on to create meaningful, real-world impact. All the resources I mention in this professional training are free and linked in the description below. Let's get started. In that last lecture, we talked about the events and the way that clients, people, have been hardwired to respond to those events. And really, it's all about safety and survival. And the body remembers, the central nervous system is tagged with those memories of those events. And it's the fight, flight, or freeze. Well, in order to move your clients beyond that, you don't want them to always be in that anxious state where they're fearing and they're worrying, they're in angst and they're stressed, because those states are not congruent with confidence, not congruent. The confidence events that you want to bring out in your clients are the ones that are joyful, and you want them to really move beyond all of the other states that do not empower them. But you want them to have a different association with them. They can't completely get rid of all emotions, but they can tone down the way that those emotions dictate their confidence levels and really cause them to freeze, to fight, or to escape, to flee. But this is where, in preparation, you will send your clients that image. And in the PDF document, again, I've got that available for you, they'll have that, and they'll have an opportunity to look at that and really reflect on their thoughts about these emotions and their feelings about these emotions. And this is where, when you already get your clients thinking about this, you get them curious. Number one, it helps them to process better when you are asking them the questions in step number 2, because step number 2 will relate to that image. But it also makes them very, very curious. Gee, what are we going to talk about in this session? What's this session going to be about? Because you also send them the URL of the online resource. It gives them a chance to look around, but they don't quite know how it's going to connect up and how it's going to help their confidence. That secures their place. They will show up at the date and time of session number 5. And that's where preparing your clients really does help you. Again, all of the work has been done for you. I've mapped this out. You know where to find it. Attached to this lecture in the resources file folder tab, click on that and you can download it. All right, that is the preparation. And in preparing, you are now going to be ready to start session number 5 with your clients, and that is step number 1. And we'll look at that next. Let's continue. By now, you're really familiar with why it's important to start a session in a consistent, structured way. Your clients, they need to know when it's time to start, especially if you are coaching a group of people that might be distracted by other things that are going on. When you start, how do you feel right now about what you learned in session number 4? Next, over the next 40 minutes, new. The now, next, and new, my 3-part method for starting a session, helps your clients to connect, to anchor in. This is what we're doing. We are starting our session now. And when you are working with a group, it really brings everyone's attention to the forefront. And that way, there's not a lot of distraction. Remember, these sessions are only 40 minutes long, but they're jam-packed. And it's important to stay true to that 40 minutes. And the only way that you are going to do that is by starting on time. And it's important for you to have those notes available from session number 4. You want to remember everyone. And definitely when you are coaching a group of people, again, I highly recommend keeping it very small. Probably 6 would be the maximum. But if you are working with a team and there are more people, then obviously you have to change the timing of this a bit, because you want to be able to get everyone's attention and you want them to know that what they have to say is important. So keep it to 6, but this is where your thoughts, your feelings about what you learned in session 4. If they've implemented what they learned, if they had steps that they had to continue, you would have that down on your notes and you would be able to pull that forward. And that way you can key in on a few different people. And that's another approach as well, especially if you are, maybe you're a team leader or a manager and you're working with your team and you want to go in there and provide them with confidence coaching, then that's where you just structure it a little bit differently. With over the next 40 minutes, that way everyone knows this is the time we're starting and this is when it's going to end. We're going to look at a new approach. Did you have a chance to look at the email that I sent you? Making sure that people are following up. Yeah, I did. It was great. All right, let's continue, because we're going to look at that, but we're also going to look at some questions next. And that's where you want to have them looking at that image. The image that I sent you. Well, let's look at that. All right, now for us, in the next lecture, we are going to focus on step number 2. Let's continue. In this lecture, we'll focus on step number 2 of session 5. Remember, step number 2 is 5 minutes. Your clients would have already received this image in the email that you sent them for their preparation. They had an opportunity to look at it, to think about how their thoughts are with regards to what they're seeing, as well as their feelings. Well, this is where you get to pull it forward and have them look at the image. But the confidence events process begins with questions. Now, that's for your knowledge. Now, the phrasing that you use, as I ask you these questions, share the first response that comes to mind. And this is where, with the questions that I have outlined for you on your PDF document, following these steps to download it, that's where you are going to be pulling forward this image. And they're going to have an opportunity to look at it, to think about it, and assessing events and situations that trigger them to feel joy, to trigger them to feel that sadness. But in particular, it's an opportunity for them to make those adjustments, because everyone can choose to have a different response. I'm going to say that again. Everyone can choose to have a different response. That's the choice. The reaction is the trigger, and the reaction is what has been hardwired into their central nervous system based on the memory of the event. But the memory can be changed, and different trigger states can be put in that place of the memory. And this is where neuro-linguistic programming becomes a very powerful coaching technique, because your clients feel empowered, like they can make that choice. Now, this is where it becomes complicated, because your clients might benefit from reacting in a certain way. They might benefit. They might be able to escape situations where it just makes them feel so uncomfortable. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of the connection that they have with reacting in that way. Does it get other needs met? And what is really on the other side? What are the benefits that they receive? What is in it for them? Always being aware. All right, in the next lecture, we are going to look at step number 3, that online resource, where we get to look at neuro-linguistic programming in a different way. Let's continue. Thank you for completing this Confidence Coaching Leadership Lab. Every skill you practice here strengthens your ability to lead with clarity, confidence, and grounded presence in real-world situations. If you'd like to continue developing your human-centered leadership and coaching skills, you'll find additional resources, leadership labs, and professional training. Links in the description below. I appreciate you being here and investing in your growth as a leader.